Hey everyone, it's Nightlight9 here. This is going to be my very first video that I'm recording for YouTube. Actually, technically it's my second one because I just ran one and got 75–80% of the way through the recording and then the fight glitched. I'll probably be putting that video up as well because I've never seen it happen throughout all the runs I've done. But because it glitched, it became super easy partway through the fight, and so I'm going to be doing it again because I want to show everybody, exactly how this fight actually needs to go, the more technical aspects of it. So the reason I decided to do this video in the first place is because I figured with the Ifrit co-op, everybody's had a chance, to be running that, and there's still plenty of days left, and I would encourage everybody to run that as many times as you have stamina for, which everybody had a lot of stamina coming into this, because the weapons that you get from that event are extremely helpful in clearing Shiva very hard. In fact, I was not able to do it until this event came, and the funny thing is, and I'm about to show you my setup, is that I am not using either of my main characters to run this event. So although I'm not a free-to-play player, I would consider myself a minnow. I've mostly just purchased the the passes to make my life just a little bit easier with the farming and things. But you'll see that I use a lot of free-to-play items in this build. So my two strongest are Cloud and Sephiroth. I've put the majority of my resources into upgrading their stuff and making them strong because they're cool characters. In fact, personally, I'm not even a big Glenn fan. He's okay, but I'm using him because of a weapon, that I got from the Ifrit fight. And I was originally thinking I was going to use Zack, but I don't actually have Zack leveled up. So he's like level, 31 or 2. So I didn't want to take all the time to do him. So let me get right into what I use for this fight, starting with Glenn. I chose to use him instead of Cloud or Sephiroth so that I could equip this as a main weapon, the Inferno Grave. Now, obviously I've run Ifrit co-op, at least a couple hundred times because I just had a lot of fun doing it with people, and so I ran it a lot because that was like my favorite thing to do in the game when that event came up. But you don't need to get it at plus 14. I can tell you, once you finish the 5 pink stars, all of these extra pluses give very, very minimal stats. Usually, it'll do either 1 or maybe 2 up to your physical attack or your magical attack. So you're getting at most 2 and some levels 1 extra total stat point for every one of these pluses. So at plus 14, I would imagine it's given me about a total of plus 20 stats. So it's really not necessary to do. But the reason I chose this weapon is because of this ice resist. This is the 100% reason I even chose Glenn to be my main character for this party. If you notice at plus 40, that puts us in this threshold right here at 35 to 45 points. That's going to be 40% ice resist, which is huge because the name of the game in this fight is survivability. If you're not super strong anyway and can't, just hit for tons of damage, which even then you still have to survive. So I just went with an all-out, let's just do this fight as a marathon. It's not a sprint, it is a marathon. And so survivability is going to be the name of the game. And I used this, another free weapon. I use this as a sub weapon because of the magic defense and the HP. Again, survivability being my #1 goal. So this weapon here, I just use for HP. This here, honestly, I could have used a lot of other weapons. It's just one of my most leveled up weapons. So, I only have so many weapons that give a meaningful bonus to HP or magic defense or ice resist or anything like that. So we had to have something. So I stuck in one of my hardest weapons. I did save a ton of my diamonds to pull for Sephiroth. It was like 36k or something like that. maybe more. It was like, and I've pulled even since I've earned more free stuff. So I was able to get this pretty good and leveled for me as far as the 4 red stars. But it doesn't matter. Like, I don't. This weapon could have been any other weapon because you're not doing ice damage, and you know his stats are not good anyway. My Glenn's, if you see here, I mean, he's the strongest magic attack and physical attack on this team, and those are not, you know, super impressive stats by any means. Here, Nameless, that was the free Sephiroth weapon that we got when he came out. Again, this is just for HP. That's the only reason I have it on there. 26 extra points, you know, really helps when you go here. Obviously, he only gets half of that because it's a sub weapon, but it all adds up. So that's that. He's going to be the one running Ifrit because even though I'm not, you know, I don't think he has insanely high magic attack and physical attack, it's still the best on this team. So he'll be the one casting the Hellfire, which I was able to level up because of this event and getting all those Ifrit sigils or whatever they're called. The new D-Faith, which you get from the story, the new story that was released, that's what I put on him because magic decrease is a big deal, and that will help me survive. Ruiner Blow, this is not actually a sigil that needs to be broken, so this could be anything. I solely chose this because 3.4% bonus HP, and I'm going for survivability. Now, this is the sigil that needs to be broken, so I put this in there, but you can tell, I mean, this is not an impressive materia. In fact, the fact that I leveled it to 10 is embarrassing, but it was one of the very first materias that I leveled when I first, you know, started the game, and, you know, I didn't know anything, so I just leveled it up, and there we go. So that's what he's got. That is, you know, 5,200 HP, which I'm happy with. My goal was to get everybody above 5K, 125 magic defense. That's okay as well. But the big thing that he has, the big thing is at 40 points, he's got 40% ice resist. So that's going to help a lot. Okay, the next character is Aerith. Got this from free pulls as well, but obviously not a ton of them because I've only been able to do the leveling up of the stars one time. So, you know, boost the heal, and that's going to be important. You know, I need the heal, so that's that. This weapon here, this is just because it's like I don't have a lot of weapons leveled up for Aerith. So, like I said, I've focused a lot more on other things. If you look, I mean, there's just not a lot of stuff that I can really do with her. I could put in, I guess, this ability, or this Mithril Rod. The only reason I didn't is, I don't know, Saving Grace to me is not, I'm not saying it's a bad spell, but the problem is I'm doing a lot of focusing on trying to make sure I get certain things off at certain times. And the problem with Saving Grace is it only has a 10-second duration. And although physical defense and magical defense increase is good and is great for survivability here, just the 10-second duration doesn't give me a lot of time, and she's going to be doing mostly healing, and for the amount of ATB this skill takes, it's just not happening. That's just not going to probably happen in this fight. So, I don't know, I'm just using that other weapon. As far as sub-equipment, I use Heavy Vulcan here for the magic defense. That's it. Just for magic defense. Obviously, Ifrit's sword. This is a big deal. Ice resist, HP. Always, you know, big for this fight. The number 1 and number 2 things that you need for this fight. Now, obviously, again, I did the Ifrit co-op battle, you know, a million times. So I have mine fully maxed. And, you know, I'm really proud of that. You know, I will say I probably did an extra 40, 50 runs just to max this once I got it, you know, pretty high. But you don't need that. You don't need it to be that high. The only reason I even took it to level 90 is because after I got it to plus 20, I thought, okay, well, if you're going to put all those resources into this and all that stamina into doing those, you might as well just go ahead and max it, right? What you get from 80 to 90, I think, was a little bit extra HP boost. So, yeah. And then, you know, like I said, I probably got about 30 extra stats from this plus 20 because it seems like every level is like a +1, and then every other level is a +2 to one stat between physical and magical attack. So basically, you could take these both down by 15. That's the difference between +20ing this and not. So it's definitely not necessary. But Ice Resist is big, HP also big. And I put that on Aerith because, as you can see, she's going to have the lowest HP on my team. So, you know, it was between either really mega stacking Ice Resist on Glenn, which she doesn't need that much, and you know, you just don't need that much, and everybody else needs to stay alive. And then Tifa, well, I'm like, I need my healer to stay alive, and Tifa is easy to raise her HP. So, because Aerith has the lowest HP, she was the candidate that got the extra Ice Resist. This weapon here, simply for HP. That's it. And I just didn't really have anything better with more HP gain to give her. So that's what she has. Materia-wise, Ruin her Blow to break the sigils. And why I picked the Blow instead of the actual Ruin is just because it had better stats than the Ruins that I had for this sigil. You know, gives that heal +2% for whatever that's worth in this. Which, survivability, it's pretty good. It's decent. Fyra, here we go. That's obviously, you know, everybody's weak to fire in this stage, so she's going to have that when she's allowed to do, you know, some damage. And then this is not a sigil that is needed again, but it's one of my highest HP gains. I have not gotten very lucky with my materias, so basically +3% are the kind of the highest that I've gotten any materias up to. So that's what I put on her because she needs HP, and that's Aerith's equipment. Obviously running her Healing Wind because you're going to need the extra free heal for sure. And then we have Tifa. Now the number one reason that I'm using Tifa is as a debuffer essentially. So for one, she has Somersault, right? Decreases physical defense and magical defense. So helps you do a little bit more damage. It doesn't last very long, but that's okay because it charges really fast, so you get to use it a lot. And it's also helpful for some of the enemies that you fight leading up to Shiva, you know, just to try to kill them a little bit faster so that things are easier on Aerith as the healer. The next big reason that I'm using Tifa is for her Tiger Fangs. And the ability Upper Shot, right? So this allows her to cast Upper Shot, and what that does is decreases magic attack, okay? For 20 seconds, by the way, and mid-grade potency. I think that is extremely good because a lot of potencies are low, and so decreasing magic attack by a mid amount, that is great, and 20 seconds gives us a lot of time to, you know, I don't like to have really tight windows when I have to think, okay, she's charging up for Diamond Dust, and I've got to time this just right because I don't want it to, you know, the effect to run out before she casts it. You know, I also have to think about switching stances and all that stuff, so I'm really a bigger fan of longer duration buffs and debuffs. And that's the number one reason I'm using Tifa. Probably even bigger than the Somersault is the Tiger Fangs here. Now, the reason I put this in first is because boost HP 40 is huge. And this is also the best weapon I have for Tifa. I have this at 3 red stars because when I first got the game and did all the free pulls, I got more of these than like any other item. So I just happened to have gotten a lot of crystal gloves. But mostly I just have it in here for HP, that's it. And you know, I haven't leveled enough to unlock all these, which doesn't really matter because I'm not even utilizing 2 of these, which, you know, under ideal circumstances, I would be trying to use 2 or all 3 of them. Okay, for sub-equipment, another free item here, Parasol, HP, magic defense, very important. This here, not important, but it gives some ice resist, right? So she gets, you know, half of this, and that's it. But stacking it with Kaiser Knuckles, which also can give ice resist once you unlock it to, you know, a certain level, it's just enough to get her to like tier 2 ice resist. So, you know, but magic defense also important. So when you look at all of those, her stats here, magic defense at 130, I think is pretty good. Her ice resist just enough to get level 2 basically, and 10%. Excuse me. And ultimately 6,000 HP, which I think is quite good. Her physical and magical attack, not anything to be proud of. For materia, she's got Rune Reblow, and that's to break the sigils. That's it. Fyra, this is a terrible Fyra. This was a Fyra that I leveled up because when I first made it, it was 4 stars and was trying to see if I could upgrade it and get it to a 5-star materia. Obviously, these are pretty terrible stats. I mean, magic attack 1.8 is okay, but the rest of these pretty bad. So I never leveled it up any further, but you need fire. And healing Asuna Fog. This is so there is a chance that it's almost guaranteed, I feel, that Aerith gets fogged in the Shiva fight, and you definitely need her to be able to make the best, most efficient use of her ATB gauge. So basically, you need a defogger, so she's not having to spend 2 extra ATB points to cast heal every time. So that's that. So my whole team, like I said, 6,000 HP here, 130 magic defense, 125 with 5.2, but he's got the most ice resist, remember, 40%. And then you have Aerith with highest magic defense, some ice resist. I think she should be around 20%, I think. Yeah, 20% with her 20 points from just this item right here, by the way, free item. And low HP, but like again, that's why I gave her the extra ice resist and made sure her magic defense was high, so that, you know, even though she's got the lowest HP, didn't hit the 5k threshold I was aiming for, she'll still be able to hopefully survive. That's the goal. Okay, so that's the setup, and the reason I like to show this setup is one main reason. When I watch other videos, when I was watching videos about how to beat Ifrit very hard, for example, a lot of people kind of glaze over their setup. And, you know, the thing is, in this game, there's lots of different weapons. There's lots of different characters, right? And the fact that it takes a while to level up characters, and you have to really put some effort into getting characters to 50, you might not have the same characters I have to level 50, or you might not have the same weapons. But if you understand the process of why I chose the things I chose, it allows you to more easily figure out how you could swap a different character, like maybe Red 13 for Tifa, you know, to do, I think there's like a sled fang or something, I don't know, that does kind of similar stuff. So I'm just kind of letting you guys see the actual setup and my thought process behind it, because I think the setup is extremely important. And then the next part is obviously doing the fight. So here we go. Now the first thing to note about this fight is you should be doing it in semi. I definitely don't want to be on auto. I mean, manual if you're that good. I am not. And so the first part, you know, you're going to be basically controlling Aerith most of the time, like 95% of these runs. And the reason is because you want to keep everybody topped up on heals, or she will get behind and not be able to keep up with the heal. And the reason that is because, you know, the AI in the game, if you do auto, it like, I think only casts heal when you get below certain thresholds of HP. And I think that threshold might be like 50%. It feels pretty low. So I just manually control her so that I can actively keep my heals going and keep everybody as topped up as possible. So that, you know, I feel like if I have everybody as close to full, it allows me to basically make more mistakes, or at least more room for, you know, mistakes to be made. Now, sometimes they kill him here, a lot of times actually in my runs before I'm able to get that last heal to top off Tifa or Glenn. That's okay because, you know, I was conserving the ATB gauge, so I can start out with a heal here. I'm also going to immediately cast Somersault. It charges really quickly, and one of the things you have to balance, especially in these first 2 rooms, is how fast you kill enemies and how much heal you get in. Because honestly, again, it can be very easy for Aerith to fall behind in the healing and basically not be able to keep up with the amount of damage that's happening. You don't want to cast Hellfire here, by the way. You really want to save that for the Shiva fight. You'll notice too that I'm really bad at noticing when these guys are going to cast their attacks, especially those AoE ones that do so much damage. So I will spend a lot of time taking unnecessary damage. But that's good because it shows, basically that, hey, this fight is still doable, even if you're not a pro at knowing, when every attack is coming. Again, Somersault, just because I think it's helpful. Healing Wind, I'm going to save. I will use it if I need to here. That's fine. But I would like to have it kind of saved up if possible. But you know what? They've just done a ton of damage, so I am going to go ahead and use it. And just keeping everybody topped up. Now, the other thing to know about these guys is once they get, I think it's below around 50% health, they are going to start doing this explosive force. And you'll see it, right? Starts counting down. You do not want them to get that off. It does a lot of damage, and it's an AoE. So at that point, I always kind of start conserving ATB, and then waiting for that to kind of occur, because then I can just focus on bursting him real fast. So right here, I'm in a pretty good spot. Once you start killing these guys, it becomes way easier to keep up with the heals. And so that's why I gotta say, you kind of do this weird dance between, like, with Aerith, because this team is not built for DPS. So I need Aerith to help and actually to get people down. So there's a really fine dance between doing some damage but keeping the heals, up pretty reasonably. But you'll notice once you start taking one down, and then once you get the second one down, then it's quite easy. Here, I just conserve my first ATB because I don't want to do my fire damage before she actually has the Ice Age gauge up. I want every bit of that to go towards lowering that Ice Age gauge, because lowering this lowers her overall damage. The other thing to note is that you really do want to hit her with an upper shot, as much as you can. So if you noticed, Aerith got fogged here. Not ideal. I think Glenn was in the process of taking that off. I don't know if he actually did. Alright, so it's off now, which is great. I'm going to use... Oh, okay, Glenn is also having problems. And just trying to keep everybody as topped up as possible, but also taking down that gauge. Keeping her debuffed when I can, when I think, okay, I've got some time. Keeping up the cures, it's a big deal. And then also I just go ahead and use the somersault quite freely because, it helps with the DPS and it charges up fast enough that it doesn't really ever affect my ability to combo it with Ifrit. Knowing that I have Healing Wind will allow me to do a little bit extra damage. Kind of sneak that in here and there. And if you notice, because I've built everybody so tanky, it's really not that hard to keep up with the heal. And, I'm just slowly taking her down. So there, I would have preferred to probably switch stance with the heal. It was kind of a last-minute decision because I realized I've been using a lot of Aerith's Sigil Break, which is obviously taking up her ATB and not allowing her to cast Curaga. So at this point, the Sigil is very important. Keeping people topped up, I think, is also important, but breaking those sigils is kind of like your number one priority, I would say. But, you know, you get it done just by virtue of having everybody having the sigils broken. You know, I even cast a cure in there, so I didn't go as ham as I could on that. And so, there we go. Okay, so it looks like this is just happening over and over again. This is the second fight in a row that I have basically tried to... I've tried to kill her, and I keep getting this weird... Like, so I beat her 4 times before this fight. The first 3, every time she functioned normally. Suddenly, in this fight, and the last one, both times, she has, when I've broken her sigils, she's never come out of being interrupted. And I don't know why. I don't know why that's happening. So that's something I've just discovered this morning. Second video in a row that I've done on this, that she has just not come out of. She's not come out of being stunned. So I don't really know. At this point, maybe I should try it a few more times without recording, so I don't have to go through all the process. But she just keeps like getting stuck in the interruption. So I don't know why that's happening. I don't know. I find it hard to believe that was intentional. But that's how you beat her. You just keep making sure that you keep everybody healed. That is, number one priority, except for when sigils come up. Then, obviously I never want anybody to be down below 3,000 HP. So I will pop off 1 cure if I can, but normally it's just constantly throwing out the sigils to break those. After the sigils are over, right? The normal version of the fight, when everything keeps going, the only difference is, eventually she's going to be able to cast her Ice Age. And all you do is, when that bar is around halfway full, the little circle thing that kind of goes around, when that bar gets halfway full, you pop over to Tifa, you hit her with the debuff there, and from the upper shot, I think it's called, right? Yeah, you hit her with upper shot to decrease her magical attack. I don't know 100% if it stacks, but I also would then pop over to Glenn and hit her with the D-Faith. I think it does stack, but you hit her with both of those, and this is even 15 seconds. So you have, hit her with the 20-second one, then come over, hit her with the 15-second one. That gauge fills way, especially from, somewhere around 40 to 50% onward. It doesn't take that long to get to complete. And so you hit her with both of those, and she will not one-shot you anymore. Then you just keep healing with Aerith, and you keep dealing fire damage when you can. You'll eventually get her low enough that you can just break her through. And that is the entire fight. Sorry I couldn't show you what that actually looks like, because 2 runs in a row I've had her glitch out and get interrupted. I don't know why that's happening, but It did. So if you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe. And if you have any suggestions or questions, feel free to drop those. I will read them and take everything into account and try to help you guys out as much as I can. Thanks.